Hi there, I'm James Osborne, the co-founder of the Recruitment Network, and this is the TRN podcast. Every week, we unpack the strategies, the technologies, the processes and mindsets fueling today's top-performing recruitment agencies. We take a look behind the scenes of some great recruitment businesses. We listen to the real-life stories of those who have built those businesses, and we learn from some of the industry's greatest thought leaders to help you become both future fit and future relevant. So let's begin with this next episode of the TRN podcast.
Very, very good morning to everybody. Great to see you here, and really looking forward to this session with I was trying to come up with a Christmas parallel to these four people. But anyway, really good. We're going to just spend a little bit of time together reflecting on 2025, just share some of the things that we've seen, and just chew the cud a little bit on what's happened in 2025, and then look forward to 2026. And I think everybody obviously knows James Osborne, Dawn, Samantha, and Karen, strategic advisors for TRN, work with an awful lot of our members, helping them in terms of strategic direction and implementation, helping them to get to where they want to get to. So let's kick it off. Reflections on 2025. Sam, what's your big take on the year we've had?
Brutal and change would be my kind of summary. Wow, there was some pain. It was the year that kept on giving for many. But I think what was really amazing was to see how quickly a lot of the members we work with responded, and the support that TRN gave. Particularly around, I think for me, the big learning was fill rate and wastage. You know, we've always talked about looking at your cost base and understanding where there's wastage, but time, you know, with rising salaries and rising cost bases, the need for recruiters to be getting paid for every pound, every hour, or every minute that they're working. So a real focus on fill rate, which I think at the start of the year for many, you know, I was seeing sort of 1 in 6, 1 in 8, which clearly, you know, is difficult to be profitable. So, you know, doubling down on that, really focusing on the right quality business has been a real game changer, I think, for the second half of the year.
Yeah. We'll keep this fluid. So just chip in, guys, with any thoughts you got to build on that, or your take on 2025.
Yeah, I mean, if I may, I'll jump in. So I think that for lots of the people that we work with, the reality of 25 was tough. Not necessarily a downturn, I don't think, but a reset definitely for lots of our members. One of the things that really sticks out for me that I've been talking a lot about in the last couple of months is an unfocused sort of sales focus for lots of our members. You know, really a lack of clarity around the clients that they want to work with, and a planned approach to how they convert new prospects, almost an over-reliance on existing clients that had slowed down in terms of volume, and the inability for organisations to really climb out of that through a focused sales approach. And lots of clients also not using the technology to help empower sales activity. So CRM's full of old and existing clients with a real lack of kind of organised approach to prospecting. And I think we have got some legacy problems around recruiters not selling enough, and the combination of the need for that, more of that, and an organised sales and marketing approach to new clients. So that for me has been a real topic of conversation over the last couple of months, with organisations really needing to get ready for 2026 in terms of their sales effort.
Yeah, I really resonates with me as well, Karen, about that selling part. But I think I'll probably won't go into that yet. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just for your initial question, Gordon, in terms of just a bit of a review of the year, I've just seen it so different in different places. You know, I've worked with so many clients who have worked in such job short, tough markets, really, really tough. And then I've seen other clients working in really candidate short markets. So it's just so their experiences. I've just find 1 minute I'm with one client experiencing something and another client that's literally in the opposite situation. So that's been really interesting. And I think for this year, it's almost felt for me like a continuation of people still adapting and learning and what they should be doing. And some people were quicker to adapt, and some people are still really getting there in terms of what they should be doing. And even those that did adapt early are still continuing to learn about how they can be more efficient. And that, I think, a big learn for a huge amount of people has definitely been that switch from the head count being about the head count and the sort of vanity of that, to actually being really efficient, and not just from a cost perspective but from individuals and the process, and getting more from the consultants that they're working with. So I feel like there's been a lot around performance management and contribution, and then that probably leads into the sales stuff. But yeah. So
I think to pick up on Dawn's point, I just look at this industry and I look at all the recruitment comes out there. You can put them into three separate camps. You've got ones who basically have been doing really, really bloody well over the last 12 to 18 months. There's no doubt about it. They've had I was with two of them yesterday, two of them TRN members yesterday, who have had record years again in comparison to the year before. They're doing really, really well. You've got a camp of recruitment businesses who have had an absolute disaster, not necessarily because of their fault, but it might be to do with the markets or what the markets they're focusing on, etc. But the reality, they've had an absolute disaster, and they've really, really shrunk back down. In some cases, sadly, have closed, and are re-emerging again in a slightly different format. And then you've got this third camp, which is the majority, I would say, which are, as to Sam's point, are people just trying to figure it out, and they're slowly adapting. And I always hate this. I always hate this time of year, because I find it really hard to look back on the year and be really negative about it. I don't have that character about looking at the stuff that's gone wrong. But there is a reality check that actually, when you look at it, there's a lot of stuff that we've learned. And actually, that's the whole point of this, right? That's the whole point of running a business, is that, you talk about winning, you either win or you learn, as opposed to winning or losing. And the reality is, we've all just learned a hell of a lot over the course of the last 12 to 18 months. And like in any market, the ones who have adapted quicker are the ones who are coming out the other side and starting to do really well. How many conversations have we had in the last 3 to 6 months where they're going, oh, the second half of the year is much better than it was in the first half of the year. This last quarter's flying. I can't even see Christmas yet. I've got so many jobs to fill all of a sudden. I was with one of the members yesterday, and they were saying, I mean, literally, they can't believe it. Suddenly, all their clients have suddenly said, we need to hire these people pre-Christmas now, as opposed to after Christmas. They're going, oh, hang on a minute, we're about to break up on Friday. Now you want to learn the business all of a sudden. So there's a reality check. You've got three different camps. What I love about TRN, obviously, and what we've tried to do this year is help all three camps in different guises and that type of stuff. But that middle camp, the evolving camp, we're just learning so much about our industry, the markets, how we work. We've learned, I think, a lot of the faults of our industry, where actually the reality is those faults get covered up pretty quickly when the market's really booming. When the market gets tougher, that's when that stuff starts to get exposed a lot more. And I think it's the ones who react the quickest are the ones who are doing the best.
100%, I agree with that entirely. The ones who kind of got on board with pivoting with the market last year, James, you're absolutely right, are the ones that are thriving now. Sort of, I think, any head in the sand behaviour hasn't stood anybody in any good stead. And I think a bit of a false belief I still hear occasionally is, well, it'll all come back. It'll all come back and be like it was. No, the world has changed. I think we've all absolutely learned that we are in a really exciting new world, and we've got to be future fit. We've got to be there.
And the thing is, Sam, even if it did come back, they wouldn't really be. They would be behind. They wouldn't be able to make the most of it. They wouldn't really be able to fully utilize it, because everybody else will just be taking it off the table because they haven't adapted to the way of working. If that makes sense.
It does ultimately come down to the leadership piece, because I can't think of a bigger year of change. Let's exclude COVID, which was so exceptional, but I can't think of a bigger period of change where you've had to step back, stop, listen, reflect, adapt, etc. And change is all about leadership. So for me, it's been the year of leadership. You've either worked it out, made the move, and implemented that change successfully, which so many of our members have. And that's why we're seeing, our moodometer that we check every two days, people are definitely leaving the year. It is way up from where it was 3-4 months ago. And fundamentally, because people have made their move, whether that's external, new operating model, whatever it is, they have made the move. And it made by leadership. Where we see members or members a little bit stuck is where they're sort of a little bit still light in headlights and trying to work out what is my move that I've got to make. And then there's some slow.
Yeah, but I'll be interested to hear from the ladies on the call. I was going to say the ladies, but that piece around leadership is really fascinating, isn't it? Because there's a reality check. The two things have been happening at the same time as people are trying to figure this out. Number one is they've been massively distracted. So our whole industry has been distracted by AI. What is it? New technology, new blueprints coming out every 30 seconds saying I've got the guiding way of doing it. Everyone, including me and you and everyone else, with an opinion about the right way, the wrong way, etc. So there's huge distractions going on everywhere. Number one. And then number two, you've got people who are basically saying, I just need to bill right now. You've got leaders who are back on the tools again, billing, which I don't think is a wrong thing at all. I think it's the right thing to do. So suddenly we're going from a place where I need space to think and breathe and do things differently as a leader, but I'm losing time over here because I'm being distracted. I'm losing time over here because I've got to bill the hell out of it and just keep focusing on cash coming in. And that's actually quite a hard thing. I'd love to know what people have seen people do, who's done that well, who's managed to sort of remove themselves from the noise to be able to focus on the evolution and the change.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of leadership fatigue, and over the last year particularly, and I think that businesses reach these inflection points, and to Dawn's point earlier around headcount, there's still this kind of belief that if we hire more, we'll do more, and the yin yang between can we afford to do that. I think I've seen some organisations that have kind of almost over strategized, and they've had to strip back, to basics and get back on the tools, as you say, James. But I think there is I'm going to go back to my earlier point. I think there's a real lack of sales capability in lots of the organisations that I work with, and the need to be clear about your products and services and have everybody able to articulate those in a really clear way, and have a plan to bring new clients on board. Yes, you've got to run the operation, but also if you want to grow your way out, it's not just about adding headcount. It's about how you utilise the workforce that you have to have more conversations and better quality conversations.
I've got a slightly different view. Oh, sorry, Karen.
Go on. No.
So I've got a slightly. I think you're absolutely right, but I think to James's point and not naming any names, I think the challenge for leaders has been really real, and you're right. I've seen that in lots of firms, but the ones who I think got on board with performance management earlier and didn't let poor performance drift, had the people who were prepared as leaders to have difficult conversations early, and then the ones who really have been driving and creating a performance culture. I think those are the ones that are winning, and those are the ones who, if you can get the engine rocking and rolling behind you, and it's not all down to the leader, I think that has had a bigger shift in performance. And that is a real key leadership challenge when it doesn't necessarily feel authentic, because you may be a bit you're a bit conflicted and a bit overwhelmed, but keeping the energy high has been really important for me.
Yeah.
I think from a leadership perspective, and I'm still keen to come back to the sales stuff again, Karen. But from a leadership perspective, in terms of what James was talking about, I think it's been really interesting to see that a lot of leaders becoming a lot more like externally vulnerable to their teams, which has been really interesting to see. And I think I've seen quite a few who have not been afraid to restructure in a way where they've got the right people with the right skills doing the right jobs, instead of taking all that responsibility all the time for everything themselves, because sometimes they do get distracted in terms of You know, like the AI stuff you mentioned, it's so easy. There's so many, it's like Christmas. There's so many shiny toys out there. It's like, oh, look at this and look at this and look how many amazing things I can have. But those who have really stayed solid with that sort of human plus tech balance are the ones that are probably doing better, because they've been able to sort of hold themselves, you know, tight for that and not go too far down the road of the shiny toys. Because I've seen a lot of people that have done that and they've got so many shiny tools that actually it's so inefficient now, and it's costing them so much money and the return is not even there, that now there are some incredible people out there that are able to come in and go, right, you've got 13 products here, you could have 3 and they would do all of them and better and cheaper and faster. But yeah, so the distraction, I think, James, has been really key for them. And if people aren't careful, you know what I mean, to continue to manage that balance between human and tech, which again always leads back to the sales side and the quality of the sales calls and the sales process and the sales structure is absolutely key. So yeah, that, from a leadership perspective, I feel like that's what I've seen. And those who have had courage to pivot and change and adapt has been rewarded, I think.
It's interesting because I always talk about the people who seem to have a confidence and twinkle in their eye about 2026 are people who've made their move, but there has been the internal move about evolving the operating model with all the changes, whether it's people or tech related. But there's also been that bit, the external piece. I can't think of a time in my career where I've seen that much change taking place in every organisation in the world because of what's happening with technology. And the members I talk to that have really got a little twinkle in their eye have got their mind around how they're going to be relevant and valuable to their client base moving forward, and they've started to evolve their service and product offering, and they're just really excited. Maybe not there yet, but they're really excited about their positioning, what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but that requires them to get out and spend time with their marketplace. And I don't think we've probably done enough of that as an industry, full stop. You know, I think we're all sort of trying to figure it out ourselves. You know, we go to TRN stuff and we talk to other recruiters and we do peer-to-peer stuff and everything else. And we're trying to figure out what we need to be doing. But really what we need to be doing is going out to our markets and going, what do you want us to be? We know you want to spend money with us. You're just not at the moment. We need to work out what that needs to look like for you to be able to engage with us and not be as we keep talking about time and time again in 2025, not just be a transactional supplier of a people service, but actually, or a people product for that matter, but instead be a transformational partner within your business and whatever that looks like, whatever that means. So we're doing a load of work across TRM members in the last 6 months in particular this year around these capability projects. And they're just brilliant. I mean, people are winning lovely sized projects, high margin business. They're going into that consultancy-esque side of the world a little bit more so than ever before, eating some of that lunch at the big consultancy firms. I think that's one of the most exciting parts of our industry moving forward, which is brilliant. But it does require, I suppose, and again, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we just said for the last 10, 15 minutes, we've got to focus inwardly on our business, look at our people and our leadership and our processes and that sort of stuff. And at the same time, we've got to focus externally and go, what does our market want from us? From our industry moving forward? What does a recruitment company look like? And yes, we can argue that just be the same and do what we've always done. I get that. And you'll probably do fine in some instances if your market is right for that. But in most instances, the market don't want that anymore. They want something different from us. And we've got to go and find out what that looks like and then go and quickly create, to Sam's point and Dawn's and Karen's point, is create a go-to-market strategy that aligns with that and create a product suite that aligns with that. And then go and win some bloody good business right now, which is sitting on the table. People are winning, and it's transforming recruitment companies' performances.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things there, I think, that I see so many people still making emotionally based decisions on what clients or what work they're going after and still not getting data and still not getting in front of their clients, still not fully understanding, you know, where the opportunity is, how much of an opportunity there is there, and making decisions based on who we think we like or we get on with. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it's relationship driven. but you need to build relationships where the opportunity is and based on data and information. But too many emotional decisions for me that I see too often. I also see people seeing the dangers of what's potentially coming in terms of changes with clients and things like that, but not doing anything about it, just sort of waiting for it to happen instead of preempting how to replace that business if there is something going to change with it.
Dawn, do you think that's a skills thing? Do you think that's because we don't have the skills within the industry today because we haven't trained people to do that? And therefore people just don't go after it because I don't know who's going to go after it and I don't have the people to go after it.
Yeah, I think so. I think two things. Firstly, I think people struggle with the confidence to go to the right people and ask the right questions because they still have this inferiority complex where they feel like it's a master servant relationship, and you just can't do recruitment with that mindset. It has to be an equal partnership, with your clients. And so if you can't go into the right people, the senior people within your clients and ask the right questions and get information and share information with them, then you're never going to be able to really make truly good decisions in terms of, if I want to get my revenue from X to Y this in 2026, where's that going to come from? And how do I find out where the best places are to go and get that? So I do think it is a confidence thing in terms of sales skill ability and getting in front of them. But I also think potentially it's an understanding of what sort of relationship we want with them. And to your point earlier, where, I've spoken to a lot of people this year about, moving your relationship from transactional to service to advisory and then to a strategic partner. So what do each of those stages look like? How do I go from one to the next? Because it's really easy for us to say, oh, you can't be just transactional. You've got to have an incredible relationship with them, but you can't go straight from one to the other. You've got to look at, well, how do I move from transactional to service? How do I start providing more of a service? Then how do I start being able to advise them and having influence over them? And then how do I become a strategic partner? Some people might not put that in a different order. Different people will have different definitions of what each of those look like. But I don't think people are really thinking about it probably enough.
Or know what good looks like.
Yeah, I think...
totally agree. Sorry, Karen.
Sorry, Gordon. I was just going to say that I think that you've got to. I've been encouraging firms to pick their lane. What are you? There is this kind of sense that we need to be more solutions orientated, and yes, clients definitely want deeper relationships, but it doesn't mean you have to over-engineer your business. You can still do, more transactional work. You just have to have better conversations. And I think that arming your staff with very clear, what is it we do? How do we articulate that to our clients in a consistent way? So you've not got one team saying one thing and one team saying another, and then really working on the depth of your relationships to encourage the clients to work with you more exclusively. So it doesn't have to be, we're developing an RPO solutions for you. We can give you dedicated, knowledgeable, credible individuals that can do really great work with you because they understand your business and they're not just working on your vacancies. And I've had lots of those types of conversations this year to try and get people to be, pick your lane and stick to it. Yes, you need to pivot sometimes if that's not working, but just have much better quality conversations. Don't get caught up in this kind of solutions language.
It's
yeah, I agree. I think people are leaving a lot of stuff on the table, and there's room for some transactional relationships. There's room for all of those different types of relationships. It's just knowing which ones should be which, which ones am I going to try to progress, and which, do I just, milk? Do you know what I mean? In terms of, and that works.
I think there's a really good exercise for every recruitment business. I think for every business to go through right now, and maybe Christmas is the time to do it when you've got a glass of wine in your hand and you've got a bit of breathing space, is to actually just look at your business and go, what is your value proposition?
Yeah.
And is it future relevant? Is it future fit? Is it what your market actually wants right now? And if the answer is yes, then great, crack on and game on. It's not a problem at all. And, you know, the markets will be kinder to you in 2026. I'm very confident about that. So you'll probably do fine and etc. We've got a load of members who have just basically said, forget everything. I'm just going to go back to the basics and do the basics brilliantly every single day and just drive it hard. And they're having a really good end to the year. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I think going through that exercise, you will start to realize pretty quickly that there are definitely recruitment organizations that just aren't set up properly at the moment. They're not relevant for their customer base. Their customer base are spending money, do want to spend money with them, but not in the way that they're doing it and the way that they're selling it. And I think that exercise will hopefully expose that for you, which is great. And that's where, you know, we're going to, I'm sure we'll touch on AI in a second, but, you know, that's where AI plays a part, because AI can help you really pull apart your value proposition, your market, compare it to. We've got some great AI agents, which anyone who's listening to, they can have them if we bring them across to you. Which is about how to sort of map out your ICP marketplace, how you build your value proposition, do some comparisons against that, look at your top 100 competitors, do analysis of what their value proposition is and see how you compare to that. That stuff can be done in seconds now. So the sort of the sourcing of the insights and the data is not hard. The hard bit is the leaders and the team going, well, let's now do something about it. Not go, it is what it is, we'll just go back to what we've always done.
Yeah, and that's so true. I had a client who literally, you know, attended their ASM, and they'd done all of that research, and actually the biggest theme for them was how much they'd underestimated themselves this year in terms of how much of the market share they actually have and how much is out there and what's possible. And suddenly, you know, their plans and their, you know, what they're working towards exponentially looks really different because of that. And it's so exciting to see what they're going to do over the next few years. Really exciting because of that.
I think to what you were saying, Dawn, about the value of transactional business. I think, yeah, they're right. There is a place for it, but I think to James's point, it's really important that, you know, businesses are using the right tools to enable them to deliver that at a profit, because the human factor is so expensive now. You know, I think we've absolutely, I think it's your expression, G. You know, we've got to be, you know, human first, tech enabled. So that transactional stuff can still be profitable.
Yeah.
Can we just touch on the AI automation piece? Because it was interesting. We did we brought a group of our members together, larger members, just to reflect on their AI successes, questions they were asking themselves, what they were trying to do with it. They were all using the same CRM. They were all passionate about remaining progressive and ahead of the game. And it feels to me like it's moving towards the core of businesses more than it was 12 months ago. What is your take about where that's going to take us in 2026? I know as you do an awful lot of work around this space with members. Where do we think it's going to go, and what are the winners going to be doing better?
So there is an AI bubble that's being built. The AI bubble, I don't think is going to burst, but it's going to significantly deflate. And I think when that happens, the market is going to really open up back to traditional recruitment again. So let's want to make that really, really clear. There's a lot of companies, our customers, who are jumping on AI bandwagons thinking it's going to solve their recruitment problems, and it's not. It's actually perpetuating their problems in many cases. And we've got a whole lot of evidential information about that shows that. What will happen, there will be some significant changes, especially around AI legislation that's going to come in the beginning of the year in 2026. That will impact an organization's ability to use AI for recruitment. So that's going to suddenly put a lot of these plans that our customers have been doing on hold, which means they've got plans on hold for expansion and growth, but they're not going to be able to do it because they're not going to have the talent to be able to do so, and their AI plans ain't going to work. So that's a reality check that is happening, which means I'm fairly confident we're going to see a slight boom from a recruitment point of view. It won't be like the COVID boom, post-COVID boom, I'm afraid, but it will be a bit of a boom where organizations, recruitment companies who are really close to their customer base, who are getting into their meeting rooms and their boardrooms, are the ones who are going to pick up some really interesting business. So I think that's number one. I think this AI bubble is going to deflate suddenly and quite quickly. It won't burst, but it will deflate, which will create a mini boom for the recruitment sector. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm watching it very, very closely. From a recruitment point of view, what does AI do? I think it's pretty simple to me. It superpowers our recruiters and our ability to do more of our best work. It's as simple as that. It doesn't replace what we do. It replaces some of the tasks that we do and some of the processes. It augments what we do. It allows us and frees us up to do more of our best work. Our best work in recruitment has always been human. And in the world of AI, where we distrust everything we see online, on social media, on TV, and everywhere else, the more human you are, the more likely you are to win better business and more business from our customer base. So what AI is about, I think people need to stop thinking about, how we're using AI to do sales calls and all this type of stuff and blah, 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 and just focus on, if I can get 60% of what my recruiters currently do, or operational back office stuff, that is automated and or utilizing agentic AI to do so, building worker bots and agents or using technology systems that are out there, then that frees up my recruiters to go and do more stuff. And that stuff is outside of the office, in front of customers. So I'm old school. I still come from a background when it was 20 client meetings a week. That's what we had to do when we started out recruitment. I was a recruiter. I think that's now coming back. And those recruiters who get out and spend more time out in front of their customers and less time in their offices will win in this market and are winning in this market. Fact. And that's no rocket science behind that. That's back to basics 101. AI allows that and enables that to happen if we use AI properly. Important. There's a whole load of factors around that. And B, we've got the right skills and people within our business who are saying, thank you for freeing me up. I'm now going to go and use that time to go and see my customers, as opposed to, thanks for freeing me up. I'm going to go and find something else to do that's going to get in the way and be a distraction. That's my thought.
That makes perfect sense. I was just going to ask, whilst we're on the subject of
tech. My microphone, by the way, at that point.
Just a quick question, James. So we've had a lot of noise from members this year around technology, the use of CRM in particular, and its actual capability in reality, the cost of add-ons, all of those sorts of things. The members really grappling with, whether they can kind of, fully optimize, because the capability of the technology just isn't there. And then you've got low take up in the business, duplicate effort, and. What's your advice generally around the landscape of good quality CRMs and cost management?
So I think there's some really good tech stacks being evolved at the moment. At the end of the day, a recruitment business should center around its CRM system. That's the heartbeat of your business. That's your single source of truth. As we know, we will keep talking about, there's probably more value and revenue sitting on your database that you're ignoring anyway at the moment. So part number one, if AI is just getting you thinking about being more productive, more efficient, then go into your database and go, with what I've currently got, forget AI completely. For what I've currently got, how do I get more out of my database today with the functionality that currently exists? All the CRM players are obviously going to be adding more stuff in and probably increasing their prices over the course of the next couple of years as they do so. It's fairly standard. So you need to make sure you're then getting a return on investment from the stuff that you are buying. It's as simple as that. But I think we have this concept, because AI is here, we have this concept that we need to become all AI. It's all about, no, we are completely AI'd up business, and we're like, blah, blah, blah. You just don't need to do that. What will be a massive win in the next 90-day sprint going from January 1 to Easter would be to take 20% of your internal processes and have that automated and have agents doing that for you to take that away from your staff. That's irrelevant of your CRM system. That could be completely, it could be a front office thing, it could be a back office, middle office thing. It doesn't really matter. But find a whole bunch of activities within your business that just I can remove, and just go and create AI or automations to just do that for you. Well, either if you haven't got it in your current tech stack, then just go and build some agents using ChatGPT, as we've done with a lot of the members already, sort of thing. That is a massive win, because if I can save 20% of that efficiency, I mean, God, I don't know how many hours that is. I mean, we've had, you had some examples from some of the members recently about how much time they've saved just from one agent they've built through going through the process that we give them. And it's like, if you're saving 200 hours, a month, well, just do the maths behind that. That's like, what is that, 5 people? Or no, it's not 5 people, what is that? A few people. There's a few full-time headcount recruiters, equivalent sort of thing. That, in theory, should be worth 300-400 grand's worth of net fee income. So just doing that one thing might create 400 grand's worth of net fee income down the pipe. That makes sense. That's a win. That's a bloody good starting point. You don't need to be Elon Musk or something else to get to that point.
And actually that case study that the member shared yesterday was about I think the fact was 300 applications for every role, only 15% were relevant. So they're using AI to sift through down to the 15%, saving huge amounts of time. But the other thing they'd done as an evolvement of that agent is to really improve the candidate experience and really look at how we can make sure the candidates, whether they're successful or not successful, actually have a positive experience. And I think that's a fascinating side of things. Jack and Jill, for example, who are coming in and are taking some business from some people, the way that they use AI to deliver a more systematic, consistent experience, even though there's no human intervention, is making a difference. So we just need to think big picture. What are we trying to do? What are we trying to be? The people, and again, I'm no techie, but the people when I really get excited about who are going on an AI journey yes, that they've done the efficiency things, but actually they're saying, what are we trying to be as a business, and how can we use AI to really take us to the next level? And there's a member of ours on the South Coast who's using AI to scrape data and insights from their CRM and giving it back to members, giving it back to their client base, to demonstrate their expertise and build trust in terms of what they're talking about. And that, for me, is really smart, because they want to be positioned as a trusted expert partner. And therefore, how can we use AI to help us do that? And that, for me, was smart. I think it's exciting. So other big trends for 26? What are we thinking?
Well, I'd like to talk about sales, Dawn, in particular. But I'd like to talk about sales because I think I have conversations daily with people about the sales process. You're going to get all the sales experts on LinkedIn telling you how to do it now and what to do and what not to do. And you've got the one guard who are basically saying, let me patronise the industry completely by telling you the maths behind how many calls you need to make in order to do deals and that sort of stuff. I think we all get that. I think we were born yesterday. I think it's fairly obvious. And then you've got the other batch who is basically saying, you don't need to do sales anymore. It's okay. Just have a really cool personal brand and the deals will come flooding into you on your inbox. And it's wonderful. Again, lots of noise, lots of distractions and everything else. Just to, I suppose, ask the question to Dawn and Sam and Karen and you, G, obviously, but the sales process is not broken. I think we need to just understand it's not broken. The core principles of sales have never changed and never will change. But the way that we do selling has to have evolved, and I don't think it has. The B2B buying process is different. Now, you think if I'm going to buy something, I've got more access to data and insights than I've ever had before. I'm more knowledgeable before I even speak to a salesperson. So about you, about your markets, about your products and everything else. So the sales process is changing massively. I'd love to know what everyone else thinks around what do we need to be doing differently in 2026 to then adapt our sales process to how the buying process has changed.
I think for me, it's I'm not really in any of those camps you talked about. I think for me, it's just about the process in the calls and the fact that we pitch too soon, we don't understand, we're leaving stuff on the table all the time. We're treating candidates like commodities. We're not showing them the value we can add. They just feel like we're just trying to fill a job. The clients, they just feel like we just want to do a deal. Do you know what I mean? I think just the understanding of our value, the information, like you said, the information and knowledge that we have, how do we share that to get all of the people that we interact with to understand where and how we can add value and what our purpose is. Yes, at the end of the day, we're measured on sales and revenue, etc. But actually, how we produce that is by doing an incredible job and providing an incredible service and adding loads of value. Changing people's lives, giving people the opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And we just don't know how to talk to people about that. I think we're so het up on teaching people the process and it's process, but we're not teaching them the sales skills, the art of conversation, the ability to influence, the ability to tell a story, to share case studies, to share our knowledge, and to demonstrate value. And I think for me that's the biggest issue. And those that have got on board with that have seen a huge improvement in their conversion and their ratios. So whoever's telling us what the industry standard is of ratios or conversions is a load of old rubbish, because they're totally personal and individual. So, it's how do you improve that by making better quality, by having better quality sales skills.
And that's that piece where you got art and science of selling, right? The
Yeah.
science is the process, it's the clever stuff, it's the mathematics, it's the systems and tech and tools. That's one thing, really important. But unless you've got the art, unless you've got the mindset, the soft skills, the ability to pick up the phone, then that just doesn't work. And vice versa.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing for me when I go into a business. They were like, they need training, they need this, they need that, this is what we need to do. And it's not. The consultants who are on the phone doing the hard yards just don't have the confidence. They're nervous and hesitant and worried about, putting themselves out there, or they just don't know how to do it, how to express themselves. So for me, that those who have really worked on that have really seen a huge impact in their businesses, because that also improves performance, right? So it's not just about performance management. You increase their sales skills, that improves performance anyway.
But also, Dawn, that links back to the value proposition, right? Because ultimately, if your value proposition just isn't working anymore and you're spending your life getting lots of no's and knockbacks, etc., your confidence is going to get damaged significantly. So it's not just a case of going, come on, guys, let me teach you to be like a salesy person. That's great. Your product's still not working, so you're still going to get a no. It may be a really nice no in this particular conversation, but it's still a no.
But they need to know. They need to know what the value proposition is and how to articulate that. To Karen's point, they need to know exactly what it means and what it is, and how to express that to people. So that they're getting the right information across to the right people.
I think where also the organisations that do this well, where they've got real clarity from a leadership perspective, their vision, their mission around who is it we serve and who is it we want to serve. And they could be the same things, but not always, particularly if you're trying to get the business to pivot if what you've been doing isn't working. So I think that it does start with, what is the ideal customer profile? Who is it that we want to work with? And building out a plan that gives your sales teams the list of clients. These are the top 100 clients that we want to work with in the future, because we know we can do this well. We've got good case studies, whatever that may be. So I think leaders need to have that really clear plan. Educate your teams about so that they can articulate that consistently across the business, and then have the list of clients that you've worked on, so they know they're going to target. And then I think the other thing for me is when we all started out in the business, we were used to smiling and dialing. 100 calls a day was the target. Folk just don't pick up the phone like they used to anymore. So you've got then to have a plan that brings kind of sales and marketing together about what is it we're going to serve and how to the people that we want to do business with, so that over time we get a chance to go and visit them, talk to them on the phone, because it is soul destroying, to try and make 100 calls. You might only get 5 people pick up if you're doing it completely cold, and that is the reality today. That has changed significantly. But yeah, for me, it starts with ICP, segmentation, making sure you're really clear about what you do and who you want to work with, and then educating and giving the confidence to the sales teams to do that work. There's a little bit for me of a worry at the moment around the types of individuals in some of the organizations that I work with. They are called 360-degree consultants, but actually they work a lot on repeat business, and they're not actually selling. They're looking to grow wallet share, but they're not actually selling to new customers. So I think there's also a little bit in some of the organisations for next year around who is selling, because I think that's quite unclear at the moment in lots of the businesses that I've worked with. If you are a 360-degree consultant and you're working a cold desk, you've got to be selling.
Yeah.
If you're working on existing clients and repeat work constantly, well, you're not a 360-degree consultant. You might be an account manager,
Yeah.
but there's a little bit about that, how sales is organised in your business.
Yeah, it's a really interesting
Love it.
point. You're right.
I'm very conscious of time. We could do this for another hour without doubt, but we are slightly tight on this one. Just final thoughts for 2026. Just in terms of, I had two members yesterday who said I'm insanely optimistic about 2026, which was fantastic. Final thoughts on 2026. How are you feeling about it, Sam?
I share the optimism. I think, we understand the pain now. We increasingly we're learning how to be relevant, how to organise our workforce internally to deliver the service we want. Lots of my clients have re-engineered their reward plans to recognise the differing roles. And I think, I'm with James. I think there's a lot to be excited about.
Final brief thoughts, Dawn?
Yeah, I agree. I feel really, really optimistic as well. I feel like I'm quite excited about quite a lot of people I know that've got such an exciting year coming up. So I am really excited for that. And for those that have, found it a struggle, they just need to make sure they reach out for help and, know what their plan is to get things under control. But there is some light. I feel like there's light.
Definitely light. And finally, Oz, you speak to hundreds of members and recruiters and bodies every week. What's your take on 26?
Well, it won't be final. I think Karen needs to be final. But I think I'm not normally an optimist. I'm quite pessimistic sort of person naturally. So just a happy clappy. But I think
that's the biggest lie on the internet today.
I am very optimistic and positive about next year, not because of market shifts and market changes. The market is what it is. I think we now know that. It's about what we can do within that market. I think we're going to be very different. I think the key for anything is everybody who's been through a tough year, and it has been a tough year. We're all going to get to Christmas and have been knackered, either because it's been tough and brilliant, or tough and hard, or tough and okay, or tough and whatever. We've survived. But we need to get into the habit now of enjoying the process of adapting to the new world, not fighting against it and not fighting for it, but enjoying that process. I think if we do that, our teams will enjoy it, and I think we can have a really, really, really positive year next year. I do think we're going to see some of the most talked about recruitment companies come out of this period, no doubt.
Love it.
Talked about for the right reasons.
Final words, Karen.
So yeah, optimistic, and I think the members that I'm working with are really looking forward to next year. They're looking forward to having a break, but really looking forward to next year. And I think that those businesses that are clearer about who they serve, what problems they're solving, and why they're relevant will be the ones that will really make hay next year.
Love it, love it. My favourite thing about TRN is seeing the way that the community influences the community, and I think some of the things we're seeing coming out of 25 from some of our members that we obviously showcase as much as we can is absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to see what happens in 2026. That was fun. Enjoyed it. Happy Christmas.
Where's the Christmas jumpers? Christmas jumpers, huh?
Christmas jumpers. Put them on.
I have. It's got baubles on it.
Got baubles on it. I'm okay.
Thank you for joining us, guys.
Great. Merry Christmas. Nice to see you.
Merry Christmas.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the TRN podcast. Thank you for listening. And make sure you grab the free episode toolkit. All the links are in the description. And click follow in your podcast app so you can get notified of our next episode. If you want to get more out of your business and your people, then please unlock 30 days from our platform, TRN World, for free. And help yourself to all our training content, our guides, our templates, and peer insights. You can get started at trnworld.com/trial. And finally, if you found this episode of the TRN podcast of use, please share it with your network and tag TRN on any socials with your takeaways. Otherwise, message us directly if we can help in any way. We do reply to every question. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on the next TRN podcast.